5 ways you can help combat stigma and discrimination as we fight against coronavirus COVID-19. 1. Educate your friends and family that COVID-19 is not specific to any race, nationality, or skin color. 2. Do not associate migrants with the virus. In many contexts, migrants are healthy and key players in nation building. 3. Remind others that discrimination may lead people to hide their symptoms rather than seek treatment. This puts everyone else at risk. 4. Be kind, considerate, and helpful to others in these difficult times. 5. If you know anyone experiencing symptoms, encourage them to dial 1025 for free.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My esteemed viewers of Barrow Online TV, welcome to another edition of Daily COVID-19 Update. If you've been following, we were winding down on this particular topic. In fact, we are concentrating on the state talk. But in last week or so, we've seen a surge in COVID-19 numbers in the Gambia. And we felt that we need to come and, remind ourselves about this pandemic is alive and kicking and is getting worse. And for the case of the Gambia, it's even worse because we've seen these numbers increasing exponentially with the healthcare providers and the support staff. And that's a very, very bad news. Because you look at Gambia's numbers, our per capita number for a doctor. Every 10,000 Gambian is assigned to 0.11 doctors. That is like 100,000 people to one doctor. That is Gambia. So if we have right now about 65 healthcare practitioners, that is doctors, nurses, and support staff in quarantine, that is a massive, massive number. Our healthcare is already broken anyway before COVID-19. So probably with these numbers, if they continue, will actually obliterate. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you the numbers for the past 24 hours across the world and also countries near Gambia. Then I will discuss about what Islam say and what Islam advise about controlling this pandemic. Because this is a country of religious people. People put everything on tawakkul, like put all your trust in Allah. But Prophet Muhammad once reminded one of his companions to please tie the camel. Tie your camel, then you can put your trust in Allah. It's like in Gunjuru now, you cannot say you put everything in the hand of God and you leave your doors open. In current climate in Gunjuru, somebody is going to walk in and just take everything. So COVID-19 has been here with us close to 8 months now, and originally originated from Wuhan in China. It is believed it originated from the bat. But from the bat to the human being, there is a gap which is still not yet answered properly. That what was the intermediate host before it reached human beings. But right now, WHO teams are in China trying to find out that missing link. But since the appearance of this virus, shows 15,795,740 infected, and the number of people killed by COVID-19 stands at 639,159 people. The number of people who recovered is 9,627,202, and this recovered population gives all of us hope. And also it gives us hope that one day we will get over this virus, and that will come through vaccination. And we've seen a lot of vaccination are right now going on trial, and most of them are in Europe. Unfortunately, there is not a single vaccination that is designed and been trialed in Africa. One vaccination by the Oxford team It's been tried in England and in South Africa, that's it. But to be designed by African scientists and been tried is not happening. So a continent which is mainly affected by infectious disease, that's not good enough. I think this pandemic should be a good eye opener for African continent policymakers to invest in science and technology, especially medical research, because if not, we will continue to be decimated by these kind of infections. Always, there is a chance of a pandemic happening anytime, any year. It's just that Africa, we leave everything until they happen, then we take measures. But if you go to developed countries, they even have rehearsals. They do mock-up, like in case of this kind of pandemic, what they need to do. And this was been happening like in America up to Obama time. But when this idiot came in, he decided to abandon everything, and that's why America is struggling. And unfortunately, still the guy is still playing politics with COVID, which is a dangerous thing to do, as he has seen in America with all the power, with all the resources they have. The numbers in America continue to rise, and it's a similar thing in Brazil as well. So this recovered population, how can somebody be resistant to a virus or any other infectious disease? Your bodies have specially programmed proteins called immunoglobulins. These immunoglobulins, once you are infected with a particular virus or a bacteria, they will go out and attack them. And once they attack them, they will be specially adapted to that particular virus. So in this case, COVID-19. And once they are adapted, the body don't get rid of them. In fact, it keeps them. So that when you are infected with the same kind of virus again, the attack will be robust, it will be quick, and it will be more powerful, and it will be more decisive. So that's what we call immunity. If they say you are immune to a particular virus, that's what we mean. Or in layman term, you are resistant. So this recovered population also, they can be very useful in treatment of COVID-19. How can you do that? You just take their blood and spin it, their plasma, that is the liquid component of the blood, transfer it or transfuse it into somebody who is experiencing COVID-19 viremia. This specially programmed protein in the recovered plasma should cure them, because already there is this specially programmed immunoglobulin that will just go straight and clear these viruses. Number of number of people currently actively infected stands at 5,529,379, and out of that 5,463,114 are in mild conditions. When I say mild condition, these are the people. Some of them are asymptomatic. These asymptomatic population are the problematic one, because they don't even know they have virus. And if you don't know you have a virus, you go about your business, the chances of infecting other people also exist, and it increases. So this is where social distancing becomes important, because before you infect people, you have to have close contact with them, less than a meter or so. So this is where physical distance become important, and physical distancing was actually described by our prophet more than 1,400 years ago. I will describe this in my in the due course. So what are the symptoms of COVID-19? We know you have fever. Fever is very common. Headache is very common. And also temperature, you have high temperature, are very common. But there are also other symptoms that are not very common, but they are very critical. That is loss of sense of smell or taste. All of a sudden you cannot taste your super kanjo, you cannot even smell it. You should be suspicious. If you are in Gambia 1025, you need to call them and alert them that I've got this symptom overnight or in the last few days. Then they make arrangement for you to be tested. Also there is a new latest symptom is rash in the mouth. I've seen that a couple of days ago, that they are to COVID-19 symptoms. You have people, you have a body temperature for a while, all of a sudden you have rashes in your mouth. There is red spots. is a symptom of COVID-19. And also, what is not very common but is a symptom is COVID-2, whereby you have a scratch on top of your toes, and once you scratch it, it becomes an open wound, and it's mainly affect the big toe. So currently, number of people who are critically ill or seriously ill with COVID-19 stands at 66,265. These are big numbers, and this critically ill population that's mainly that contribute to the fatalities or the mortality of COVID-19. So I'm going to give it to you top 10 most affected countries, across the world, and also today's numbers. Past 24 hours across the world, 153,475 new cases recorded. So this virus is multiplying at a faster rate than we have seen around May, June, around March, April. The numbers are going up, and the number of dead past 24 hours is 3,484. America contributed 33,554 new cases past 24 hours and 487 dead. And Brazil, 13,000 new cases and 233 dead. And India, 47,000. Could you imagine that? 47,341 new cases past 24 and 753 dead. And Russia have 5,811 new cases, 154. So countries that are close to the Gambia, I'll read those to you in future later in the discussion. So now I'm going to go to the actual presentation, that is surge in COVID-19 numbers in the Gambia and the threat to complete collapse of our healthcare systems. Well, before COVID-19, our healthcare system was non-existent anyway. It's been broken before even COVID-19. So, but what we've seen might actually completely obliterate our healthcare system, because when you have 10 doctors, 12 nurses, and also 16 support staff, and in total, 65 healthcare practitioners in the Gambia are now in quarantine, and that is a big number in a country where every 100,000 people have access to only one doctor. So the ratio of the population to doctors is 1 to 100 and 100,000. That is, probably one of the worst in the world. So when we see 10 of those doctors, you say, well, it's only 10. But in Gambia, that is like thousands. That's what I mean. When you take 10 doctors out of the total number of doctors available for the rest of the country is huge. So, as I mentioned earlier, the virus started in December 2019 in Wuhan, and so far 15,684,789 infected. Number of people, number of deaths stand at 6,637,225, and currently infected patients 5,478,375, and those in mild condition 5,612,000. And number of those who are critically ill or seriously ill, 66,195. So the countries that are very close to the Gambia, Ivory Coast is leading the way. So far, they registered 15,001 cases, and number of new cases past 24 hours is 268, and number of deaths so far for Ivory Coast is 93. Senegal so far registered 9,422 cases and 182 deaths, and in past 24 hours they recorded 156 new cases. Guinea-Conakry recorded 6,806 cases so far, and total number of deaths is 42, and new cases past 24 hours is 59. Mauritania is another country that is not doing very well. So far, they registered 6,067 new cases, and number of deaths 40, and number of new cases 156. Mali 2,494 they recorded so far, and 123 deaths so far, and so past 24 hours they registered no new cases. Sierra Leone so far recorded 1,752 cases, and 66 dead, and 25 new cases past 24 hours. Guinea-Bissau so far recorded 1,954, 26 dead and 5 new cases, and Burkina Faso 1,075, number of dead 53, and number of new cases 5. Gambia so far 170, and number of dead 5, and number of new cases past 24 hours stand at 24. Gambia 170, but 60% of these 170 were registered in the past couple of past few days. So that make it very worrying. So the core of this discussion is about what Islam said about pandemic. We've seen people are going to court for defying orders from the government that they went ahead anyway during the state of emergency to lead prayers in the mosque. So we need to remind these religious leaders what kind of Islam are they preaching, because pandemics are nothing new in the world and they've been rare even before the Islam we have. So the Islam, what Islam said about COVID-19 is that's what I'm discussing. So so far we all know there is no definite cure for this virus that is responsible of this pandemic, that is SARS-CoV-2. But however, strong recommendations were made to make a distance from the place of epidemics or in pandemics, ask people not to move away from the place of an epidemic or pandemics. So they were asked to stay put. Even during some emergency, stay at home was allowed as part of Azan from the mosque. Those who are living in Saudi Arabia, we've seen from between March and up to the end of June, actually, the azan that is called to prayer was modified. So instead of telling people Hayya al Falah, come to pray, Hayya al Salah, come for um, um, come to prayer, they were telling us Salatu fi buyutikum, pray in your houses. So that was the norm, but luckily the masjids are open again, but with strict physical distancing, and you have to take your own mats and also face mats. If you miss any of these, they won't allow you to get into the mosque. So this was based on a narration by Nafi, Allah's messenger used to tell the muazzins who calls Azan to pronounce Azan and say, um, Ala salati fi buyutikum, pray in your homes in a place of higher ala salat, as I mentioned. So come to the prayer at the end of the Azan on a rainy or very cold night during the journey. So these are far less, dangerous situation. Like when it is raining, the Prophet will ask the Azan, the Muazzin, that is somebody who called to prayer, instead of telling people, Hayya ala salat, come to pray, he'll tell them, Salat if you come pray in your houses. This was narrated by, is in the book of Bukhari and in a section called Book for Call to Prayers. So Islam considered the life of human being as the most precious gift of God. It should be protected in all circumstances. So, you don't risk your life under any circumstances. That's what Allah expects from us. But we say people, they believe in God, they are so pious. Why would I fear about the virus? Virus is a creation by Allah, which if you are infected, which can be your reason for early graves. And Allah doesn't want us, because if there is no life on it, there is no purpose on this. We are the purpose of this world. So if we don't accept, then there will be no world anyway. So without human life, this world has no purpose. And some of the prophets saying which help Muslims to make their attitude towards pandemic are as follows. So pandemic is nothing new, and it happened even the time of the prophet or even long before, according to historical evidences. So some of the attitudes the prophets have towards pandemic, I'm going to highlight here. This was a narration by Abdurrahman bin Auf. I have heard Allah's messenger saying, if you hear about it, an outbreak of a plague or a pandemic in a land, do not go to it. That is the um, that is the lockdown. you know, that's the lockdown. So Prophet Muhammad mentioned about the lockdown 1,400 years ago when he said, if you hear about it, an outbreak of a plague or a pandemic in a land, do not go to it. But if the plague breaks out in a country where you are staying, do not run away from it. That is still the lockdown. You stay where you are. Don't move. And if you hear it's in China, don't travel to China. If you are in a country where it is not existing. So Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, said, do not cause harm or reciprocate harm. Whoever harms others, Allah will harm him. So whoever is harsh with others, Allah will be harsh with him. These are strong warnings from Almighty Allah that those who deliberately go to public spaces without following these health and safety guidelines like wearing a mask, observing physical distancing, washing your hand, maintaining hygienic respiratory respiratory hygiene, maintaining respiratory hygiene, is telling you if Allah do not cause harm or reciprocate it. And Allah said, whoever harms others, Allah will harm him. Whoever is harsh with others, Allah will be harsh with them. So we have to be careful what we do. These are not just medical instruction, but if you want to consider from the religious point of view, these are what they are highly recommended from the Islamic point of view. Again, Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, said, prayer for a Muslim. Oh Allah, I beg for good health and faith with God conduct. Al-Bukhari. So if Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam should pray, so Allah can, make him healthy and also to keep a good conduct. That means our health have to be protected at all costs. Nobody should endanger their own life and the life of other people. So in the event we are facing now, we've seen Gambia, a lot of healthcare personnel are going down with this virus. So it is our responsibility as Muslims and Christians to make sure we follow the government guideline that will help to stop the spread of this virus. So narrated Ibn Jabir this another narration which was narrated by Jabir. He said every disease has a cure. So one day, hopefully, we will get a cure for this pandemic. That is, from the Islamic point of view, we have to be hopeful that every disease you see in this world has a cure. So based on the Quranic injunction and prophetic sayings, this is what the Grand Mufti of Dubai, Dr. Ali Ahmed, recently said. There should be neither harm nor malice. The suspension of group prayers is allowed by Islam to prevent harm and protect people from any form of damage resulting from bad weather, epidemics, or wars. So the Islamic leaders who are insisting on going to these mosques when we have the state of emergency in complete disregard to public safety are doing it in their own volition, but it's not what the Islam recommended anyway. So the rationale behind the attitude of Muslims towards keeping away from the place of epidemic or pandemic is physical distancing in modern terms, as to say, put at the place of the outbreak. That's what Prophet Muhammad actually recommended. When there is an outbreak, please don't go there. You lock yourself down in modern terms, and was strengthened by an important incident that occurred during the time of Umar bin Khattab, and second righteous caliph of Islam. This is the second caliph after the death of Prophet Muhammad. There was a similar, a specific incident which was mentioned in Islamic history. And according to a famous Islamic scholar, Ibn Hajar Asqani, who lives between 1372 and 1449, said there were 16 cases of bubonic plague during the early Islamic period till the end of Umayyad periods. And these include the plagues of Amwas, that is 638 to 39 AD, and plague of Kufa, 669 AD, and plague of Basra 688 to 89 AD. So these are the pandemic that's during the time of Prophet Muhammad or just after. So again, still with what Islam says about pandemic and how to control them. So during these outbreaks, thousands of Muslims were killed, and among them were prominent persons of Islam. However, the first disaster Muslim confronted was the plague of animals. So also the misconception that these plagues are punishment from Allah. Nothing is far from the truth. If it is punishment from Allah, then we are saying that the caliphs also were punished. We should just see this as this is a creation of Allah, and it can happen to anybody at any time. What we should put in our mind is that anything you see, any bad condition is a trial, and it's for the patients, who will come out of it stronger and better. So sometimes during 2038, like I mentioned, there's a special example of pandemic and how to keep your distance away from where pandemic was and how to respect this lockdown. This was Umar bin Khattab time, the second caliph of Islam, came to know some of the administrative life in Syria. During his time, he had one of his governors in Syria. There was a problem. Then he decided to visit the area himself and discuss the matter with Abu Ubaidah. Then he was the governor there, who was commanding the Muslim army stationed at the garrison in Damascus. But as they set out for Syria in early 638, when he got as far as Sagitt's, Abu Ubaidah and his companion came to meet him, and they informed him that there is a plague, there is a pandemic going on actually inside Syria at the time, in Damascus, and they informed him that it had killed a village in Palestine. Okay, this Sagis is a village in modern day Palestine, or olden day Palestine, because there is hardly any Palestine anyway. So they inform him that there is a plague or a pandemic broke out in Anwas, and which spread very, very fast to Syria, Iraq, and Iran, and killed people in their thousands. So once Umar bin Khattab heard this deadly disease, and he consulted the elders from Ansar and Quraysh about the prevailing situation and sought their opinion about the decision of to proceed. So these caliphs, they were very democratic. He don't just take a decision. What he does is he turns to his people who are accompanying him. Among them were the Ansars and the Quraysh. That is the Ansar. That is the indigents of Medina were among them, and also people who migrate with them to Makkah were also among this party. He consulted them. What should we do? Now that we have the news that where we are going, there is a pandemic going on there, and what can we do? So, majority of them were against entering Syria and exposing him to the endemic. So when he controlled his followers, they told him, the majority of them agreed that no, maybe it's a bad idea for us to proceed. So Umar bin Khattab decided to retreat. But this one didn't go down well with one of the Sahabas called Ubaidah. He felt disheartened and said to Umar, are you not fleeing from the degree of Allah? To him, this is a degree. Why should we go back? This degree of Allah. So it's effectively accusing Umar of being sort of like a coward. This is what Allah degrees. Why should you run away from it? After hearing that there is a pandemic where they are going. So, and Umar, in answer to him was, are you not fleeing from the degree of Allah? Without showing any displeasure over the comments of his old friend and a prominent companion of Umar said rather firmly, yes, we are fleeing from the degree of Allah to the degree of Allah. That's nkataka mi ala la nyino lo wala biye barna munu fana mu ala la nyino ta kendi woni njado. But in the meantime, there was this Sahaba called Abdurrahman bin Auf. We quickly remember the hadith I quote earlier in the discussion that when Prophet Muhammad said, if you hear of a pandemic in a place, don't go there. And if where you are, if there is a pandemic here, don't move from there. So this Abrahman bin Auf reminded them about these hadiths and narrated the hadiths which the Prophet advises for us never to enter the land of an pandemic. And about a year later, Hazrat Ubaidah, along with 3 other companions of Prophet, was among those 25,000 soldiers who become victims of deadly plagues. This narrated in Sahih Bukhari. So unfortunately, he ended up dying in a pandemic. Anyway, so the story of Anwar's and prophetic saying hadith on pandemic and ethically powerful reason for Muslims to follow present day norms for containing the spread of deadly virus. So if somebody should tell you, nobody should close Allah's mosques. These things happened before, long before us. So that brings us to the end of this presentation. Once again, I remind you about the symptoms of COVID-19. They are fever, headache, persistent cough, and sometimes runny nose. It's not very common. But also there are some not very common symptoms like loss of sense of smell and taste, and also what they call COVID-19 toe, where you have a blister on top of your toes and then the big toe. And also a new one, a rash in your mouth, is a possible indication of COVID-19 infections. But how can we prevent ourselves from COVID-19 and people around us? If you are going into public spaces, please wear double layer cloth mask. And also always wash your hand with plenty of soap for at least 40 seconds. If you don't have soap and water, use alcohol-based hand rub. And also maintain good respiratory hygiene. By that, if you're going to spit, make sure you spit in tissue and dispose it responsibly. Don't throw it everywhere. So thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it. And going for weekend, inshallah, we are back here on Monday with our Salah, the turning point for the people of Congo, where I will be joined by Bankamane, Dr. Lamin Conte, and Dave Mane. Inshallah, tomorrow also, UK time, 3 o'clock, I'm here with David Mane. We are talking about setting the record straight. If you know what is happening to these people of Congo, mainly this time Sukuta and Bufut, but there is another narration building taking place. We need to counter those stories. Gambians need to know what really happened in Bufut, how those estates come about, how they acquire those lands. So Dave Mane will be here tomorrow, 3 o'clock Gambia time, and we will be discussing that. Thank you, brother. Tell Gunjur people not to allow these Senegalese force that when Fotovaski back in our compounds until they are tested for COVID-19. Yeah, that is a fact. That should be the norm. Yeah, thank you all, and please share the video so it can get to as many people as you can. Bye-bye.
Yileng bunda lulolti isifa mako eno foisi tanka kajafo nim fatan fansola pour que ñing corona jangaro kele bunda folo ela ka fuñol ni la dimbayal kala mutandi ko ñing corona jangaro bu ka jibe e musi jumalati warante ibota banku jumaleto walla iboro la kurola jumalati bunda fulanjang ikanaje ko tamalal dam male ka ta ñing corona jangaro soto fanna jama ya itandi le ko ñin tamalal jama jaato kende yatale andum ka kataku jamaale ke banku do ko kono bunda sabanjam mol hakilo bulandi ko ño kajafo ning fatam fanso satin nanni nole fan fo modol sila kurango mabo puli kanata jaaroro la andum ñin si mobe dundi no mantoro konole bunda nani njam al nga bala fa ñoye nga ñoma koy bunda lulu njam niye molo meye atenyum corona kurang la mandar go sodo afoye 1025 command andum ite fen jola
ɗiɗo ko laawi joyɗi wawete rewde hara en aybinani en bonani fi haɓagol coronavirus. ko adi kon jangine ɓe ngure mon e weldiɓe mon hara on darani leñol ma koddigagu ko ɗimmi kon wata on ɓaɗoɗe kawtal leydi men jogiiɓe nde nawnare a wiyaka non kawtal leydi ɓe ko jogiiɓe nawnare nden tun ko tammiti kon aybingol jogiiɓe nde nawnare waɗay ha en wawata andude goɗɗo goo sino jogii sabu natima waɗay ha ɓe hersira te ɗum no bonani en enen fof naya ɓunɗum tambitoɗe moƴƴe andite ɗum koko feƴƴata joya ɓunɗum si tawi no woodi mo sikkitiɗon walla anduɗon jogiiɗo nde nawnare wota on ame nodde 1025 no yawiri
nañu booloo xeex xaajaarleeg xeet yi di xew ci jamono gi coronavirus xewee juróomi anam yiñ mun a jëfandoo mooy benn nañuy jàngal suñuy xarit ak jaboot yi ne coronavirus amut xaajaarleeg seen ñaar bu ñu tiiñal gan yi ak am di jaama réew mi ndaxte ci lu bari gan yi am nañ wérgu yaram te bokk nañ ci dooleel koom-koomi réew mi ñett nañu fàttali suñ boppa xaajaarle yi mun naa tax képp ku am màndarga jàngoro gi du feeñal boppam wala sàkku ndimbal te loolu mun naa indil ñëpp loraange ñeent nañu laabiir te ubbi suñu xol yi ci bépp doomu aadama ci jamono tolof-tolof yi juróom képp kuñ xam kuy wone màndarga yi wala am jàngoro gi nañ leen ñaax ñu woote ci 1025 te doo fay dara
Hello Gambia. Your television experience is about to be transformed to the next level. Enjoy amazing features with the new DTT decoder by XCAF. Watch television in high definition and excellent sound quality. Watch Gambian channels such as GRTS, QTV, Star TV, Paradise TV and MTA with one decoder all for free. That's not all. For a monthly subscription of $510, you get 60 international channels from your favorite football leagues, news, African movies, telenovelas, cartoons and much more. Get the decoder for $2,040, which comes with free installation, 24/7 customer and technical support all year round, and 1 month free subscription for only $510 thereafter. Get the decoder at XCAF Gambia, located at Hendon Court Building, former Dream Park, Senegambia, or through approved dealers. For more info, call 446-1060 or 446-1061. The world is at your fingertips with the XCAF DTD decoder.
Ati ko di ko ba for the